Before the Avata 360 launches, I want to be honest with you about something. I have concerns. Not about whether this drone is impressive. It clearly is. Not about whether DJI has built something genuinely new. They have. But I had the same kind of concerns before the Neo 2 launched, and those concerns turned out to be right. The battery life specifically, I predicted it would fall significantly short of DJI's advertised numbers long before anyone had the drone in hand, and it did. DJI promised 19 minutes, real-world usage landed around 11 minutes for most people. I want to do the same thing now for the Avata 360, share what is on my mind before launch, so you can come back after March 26th and tell me whether I was right or wrong, and genuinely, I want your opinion on this too. Because where you land on these concerns might be completely different from where I do, and that debate is worth having before the hype takes over completely. Let me start with something that does not get talked about enough in the coverage so far. The Avata 360 is big. We know it weighs approximately 375 grams. We have seen it next to the Avata 2, the Neo 2, and the Mavic 4 Pro. It is noticeably larger than anything in its immediate comparison set, and significantly larger than its only real competitor in the 360 drone category. Put the Avata 360 next to the Insta360 Antigravity A1 and the size difference is stark. The A1 folds. When it is packed away, it becomes genuinely compact, small enough to fit in a jacket pocket, easy to throw in a backpack without dedicating significant space to it. Yet the form factor is one of the A1's strongest practical advantages. The Avata 360 does not fold. It is a fixed frame design, similar in philosophy to the Neo 2, and it is going to take up real space in your bag. For creators who travel light, who hike to locations, who need their drone to be as invisible as possible in their kit, this is a genuine consideration. Now, a lot of you said in the comments that the weight class was not a problem where you live, and that is fair. And for most of the people watching this channel, the regulatory weight threshold is manageable, but size and portability is a separate conversation from weight class. Even if 375 grams is legally fine for your region, carrying a drone this size every day is a different commitment than carrying something that folds flat. This might not matter to you, but it might matter more than you think once you are actually packing for a trip and comparing bag space. The battery concern. This is the one I keep coming back to. DJ. I will likely advertise somewhere between 25 and 28 minutes of flight time for the Avata 360. I do not think that is what most people will see in real-world flying. Here's my reasoning. From the RC2 leak, I calculated approximately 18 minutes of real-world flight time based on battery data visible during an actual flight, 74% remaining with 13 minutes 28 seconds left. The math points to 18 minutes total. That was a real unit in real flight conditions. Now compare that to the Neo 2 situation. DJI advertised 19 minutes, real-world usage landed at roughly 11 minutes for most people flying actively. The gap between advertised and real was significant. The Avata 360 battery is 38.6 watt-hours, larger than the Avata 2, but this drone is running dual image sensors, real-time 360 stitching, high-resolution recording, omnidirectional obstacle sensing, LiDAR and transmission simultaneously. That is a significant processing load on top of the flight systems. Every one of those systems pulls from the same battery. My honest prediction, DJI advertises 25 to 28 minutes. Real active flying lands at 17 to 19 minutes for most people. Maybe less if you are pushing the drone hard. Now here is where it gets interesting. One comment on my last video put it bluntly, and I want to read it to you because it represents a real perspective. The viewer said 18 minutes flight time is a joke compared to the Antigravity A1, which delivers around 35 minutes of real flight time from a promised 39 minutes, half the battery life, in a drone that is significantly larger and heavier. That comparison is uncomfortable, and it is worth sitting with. The A1 manages 35 minutes of real flight time while staying under 250 grams. The Avata 360, if my prediction holds, delivers roughly half that flight time in a larger, heavier package. Now, there are reasons for that gap. The A1 is a simpler system, less processing load, less transmission capability, less obstacle avoidance, different engineering priorities. The comparison is not entirely fair because these drones are built differently. But from the perspective of someone standing in a field wanting to fly, 35 minutes versus 18 minutes is not a small difference. It is a completely different shooting experience. Here is the other thing I want to flag before someone asks in the comments. If you are thinking about getting an extended battery for the Avata 360 later, the way we did with the Neo 2, I do not think that is going to happen easily. The Neo 2's aftermarket extended battery worked because the battery slot is accessible and the form factor allowed a slightly larger cell to be installed without interfering with anything critical. The Avata 360 is a 360 drone. The dual fisheye system captures everything around the drone, including the battery area. An aftermarket extended battery that changes the drone's profile is going to appear in the 360 footage. It is going to affect the stitching. It is not a clean solution the way it was on the Neo 2. Unless DJI releases their own higher capacity battery, which there is no indication of, the battery you get at launch is likely the battery you live with. Here is the honest thing about both of these concerns. A lot of people are going to be completely fine with them. On size, if you have a dedicated drone bag, if you drive to your locations, if portability is not your primary constraint, the Avata 360's size is a non-issue. You carry it, you fly it, you go home. On battery, if you shoot in short focused sessions, if you have 2 or 3 batteries in your kit, if 18 to 20 minutes per battery is enough to get what you need at a location, the battery life question answers itself practically. The Neo 2 battery situation is a good reference point here. A lot of people were genuinely frustrated by the gap between advertised and real flight time, and yet a lot of other people said it was fine for how they actually fly. Selfie drone, quick sessions, grab the shot and go. For that use case, 11 minutes was enough. The Avata 360 at 18 minutes is more than the Neo 2 delivered in real use. For casual, creative flying, that might be perfectly acceptable. But here's what I want to know from you specifically. The size and the battery are my 2 pre-launch concerns. I had similar concerns before Neo 2 and they turned out to be valid. I might be right about these. I might be wrong. The drone is not in my hands yet. March 26th changes that. I am picking up the Avata 360 in China on launch day, and the first thing I am testing before image quality, before obstacle avoidance, before anything else, is real battery life in active flight conditions, because that number is going to tell us everything about whether these concerns were warranted or whether I was overthinking it. And I will compare it directly to the Antigravity A1. Same location, same flying style, honest side-by-side battery numbers, the kind of comparison that actually matters versus spec sheet claims. Subscribe and hit the bell. That video is coming March 26th and you do not want to miss it. But right now, drop in the comments the size of the Avata 360 and the likely battery life. Is that acceptable to you, or is it a deal breaker? And if you own the Antigravity A1, I especially want to hear from you. Does 35 minutes versus 18 minutes change the conversation entirely in your mind? Tell me where you stand. I try to read every single one.